If you wear glasses, there's a good chance that at some point in your life you'll have had a problem with them, whether that's with your vision, the frames, or choosing them in the first place. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the most common issues that people have with their eyewear and helping you to find a solution. So hi, I'm Robert, Style and Vision Consultant here at the Spectacle Factory, and it's my job to pair you with your perfect pair of glasses. And that's what this is all about. Perfection is not easy. And I learned very early on in my career that you can do everything to the very best of your ability. You can cross every T, dot every I, and still someone is going to have a bit of an issue with their glasses. And why is that? Well, we're going to be covering that in today's video. Choosing glasses, which many people struggle with, vision, and why vision isn't always as we expect it to be when we get our new glasses, and of course frames, all the issues that people can have with their spectacle frames. Now, if one of those specific topics applies more so to you, please skip to that part of the video because I'm going to be spending a lot of time with each of these topics and there is a lot to cover. And for those interested, because everyone always asks me, the glasses I'm wearing are the Reykjavik's Alvar, part of the new collection, which I filmed a video on recently, so definitely check that out. I'm wearing them with Zeiss Smart Life lenses, as usual, with a gradient brown 25% tint and ruby flash coating. Anyway, that aside, let's talk about the process of choosing glasses and why a lot of people struggle with that process. Well, the first thing I want to say, from my 12 years of experience, the worst way to choose your new glasses is to walk into the opticians and look at a wall of glasses. Thousands upon thousands of frames, different shapes, sizes, materials, colours. It can be extremely overwhelming, and expecting the one pair that's right for you to just jump off the shelf, for you to just spot it in amongst that multitude of other frames is just not realistic. So make things easier for yourself. Think about your eyewear before you visit the opticians. Have not necessarily a specific style, but a specific look in mind. This is the look that I want to achieve. And you can base that off people that you look up to, celebrities, movie stars, sports stars, people who wear glasses themselves. Think about what styles they have and what that style does for them, how it makes them appear. Do not get too hung up on face shape. That is one of my number one tips for choosing glasses. Trust me on this. I'm wearing the Alvar frame right now, okay? And I also have this portrait pair. This is called the Editor, and it's a really cool frame. I love this frame. These two styles are completely different, and you might have a preference of one over the other, but I can honestly say that I feel just as comfortable in this one as I do in the Alvar. Even though they are entirely different looks, different shapes, different colours, materials, everything about them is about as different as it can be. And yet, I'm wearing both. It isn't the case that one person can just have one frame shape. Please try to get out of that mindset. I think that's a terrible mindset that's kind of plagued our industry. People think, what is the shape for my face? Think more about in terms of personality. What frame is the right personality for the look that I want to portray with my new glasses? And aside from that, don't get too hung up on choosing just one pair. Even if you don't choose them both now, think about having multiple pairs for different looks and different occasions. For example, I definitely see the Editor as being more of a casual style, and this Alvar has been a little bit more formal. Now, that doesn't mean I can't wear it with a casual outfit, but it's good to have both different looks for different situations. I think you'll also find that if you approach it with that mindset, you'll find there's a lot less pressure on choosing the one. When people try to find one pair of glasses for everything that they do, every situation that they're going to be in for the next few years, that makes it a huge decision, an almost impossible decision. When you think about building an eyewear wardrobe or collection over time, it becomes a lot easier because, okay, you might really like these glasses, but you might not like one aspect of them. Next time you choose a pair, you choose ones that are different in that aspect. So I hope what you've gained from that is to approach the process of choosing glasses perhaps a little bit differently than you have done in the past. I see countless people, thousands of people throughout the year, both in store and on video consultations that we do with international clients. And, I see those people who really struggle with choosing glasses and the people who find it a lot easier because they have a different mindset. But obviously it's not just about style, it's also about functionality, and choosing the right glasses is really important from a comfort perspective and a durability perspective as well. So one of the most important aspects is finding the right size of glasses. And that will depend on the shape. For example, round frames generally should be worn a little bit smaller than the face. On the other hand, squarer frames should be worn larger than the face. So you will find that a squarer frame will come out wider, and that is natural and normal. If we were to compare the numbers of these frames, this is a 53mm eye size, as opposed to the Alvar, which is a 47mm eye size. So how can a 53 and a 47 both fit the same person? Well, that number, or those numbers that you read on the frames, they are a guide, but that is all they are. Please do not take them as gospel. So many people do. It's one component of the frame width. All that number tells us, that 53 or 47, it tells us the width of the lens itself, not the width of the lugs and not the width of the bridge. Even the bridge number doesn't tell you the width of the bridge. What the bridge number, it actually shouldn't even be called the bridge number, but what that number tells you is the distance between the two lenses. Now, the distance between these two lenses, and I picked them for this specific reason, is actually exactly the same. But if you compare the bridges, you can see that the width here is actually a lot narrower than the width here on the Alvar. And again, both do fit me, mainly because this is a molded acetate bridge, and this is a metal bridge with nose pads. There are pros and cons to both, and we have covered that topic in a separate video, so definitely check that out. But generally, the rule of thumb is that, nose pads, you can't really go wrong because they can be adjusted to you. With plastic bridges, it's really important that they fit perfectly first time because they aren't adjustable. What you're looking for with a plastic bridge is that the frame follows the entire shape of your nose and that there's no gaps anywhere. You don't want gaps here, you don't want gaps at the top either, because by covering the whole surface area of the nose, it's spreading the weight more evenly, and that's going to make the frame more comfortable long term, but also help to keep it in place and stop it from slipping down. On that subject, a good way to test the size of your glasses is the classic head shake test. This has become the industry standard over time. You want to shake your head and make sure the frames don't move on their own. And if they don't, the chances are they are a good fit. When trying out frames, you want to make sure there's no pressure here on the temples, especially above your ear. And of course, behind the ear, those can be adjusted. But not all frames do fit behind the ear. Many frames, like this industrial pair from Luca de Stale in Paris, have a completely straight fit. And some people do prefer that, particularly if you wear hearing aids or if you want a more sporty aesthetic. These do not touch the back of the ear at all. This part of our anatomy, by the way, is called the mastoid, and it is one of the most sensitive parts of the body. So to have frames that don't touch or don't grip to the back of the ear can sometimes be a lot more comfortable. But as long as they're fitted right, generally most frames will be okay. The exception to the rule when it comes to acetate bridges is what we call the keyhole bridge. Now, with a keyhole bridge, such as you see in the Fits by Anglo-American Optical, you will have naturally a gap at the top, and that is deliberate. Some people do prefer that fit. There are pros and cons to both. Generally speaking, these apply a little bit more pressure to the side of the nose and less to the top, and some people just find that more comfortable. Myself personally, I can wear either. I think this has more of a vintage kind of aesthetic because you saw a lot of historic acetate frames with the keyhole bridge, but both are fine for the majority of people. But if it does have a keyhole bridge, obviously you don't want to expect it to be flush to the nose. That's not the point. So I think that kind of wraps it up as an overview for choosing the right glasses. I've explained some of the most common issues that people have, both with the psychology of choosing them, the pressure of trying to fit everything into one pair, and the issue that a lot of people have of choosing the right size. If they're too loose, your glasses are going to fall down all the time. If they're too tight, you're going to get pressure both on the temples and behind the ear, and we don't want that either. But once you've chosen your new glasses and you receive them from the optician, what happens when your vision doesn't feel as good as it should be? Well, first of all, don't panic. This is a really difficult topic to cover because people think of vision as a very mechanical process. We have an eye, and the eye focuses light. And all the glasses need to do is correct the focus of the eye. If only it were that simple. We don't see with our eyes. Let me repeat this to you because it is really important for you to remember. We do not see anything with our eyes. We see with our brain. All the eye does is focus light to the retina, which sends signals, electrical signals, to the brain, and the brain perceives and interprets the image that we see. That is a really important distinction because it's going to help you to understand why you and many other people do struggle with their vision with new glasses, both in the short term and sometimes in the longer term. Now, that is not to say that the optician always gets your prescription right. I learned a really interesting statistic once, which is that the repeatability of a standard eye test is 0.75 diopters. However, it only takes 0.5 diopters for someone to have a noticeable issue with their vision. So if the repeatability is only 0.75, but the margin for error is 0.5, it is the nature of what we do that sometimes you're going to get the wrong result. That does not mean the optician did a bad job. That does not mean that you have done the wrong job, because I'm sure that when you had your eyes tested, you gave the answers that you thought were appropriate. But that is just the nature of a subjective eye test. You see, most eye tests are still conducted subjectively. We ask you, the patient, one or two, and you tell us which is better, and gradually we refine that down. Now, the future of eye testing is a combination, in my opinion, of both subjective eye tests and objective measurement of your vision. That's why we use a technology called the eye profiler from Zeiss. What it does is it scans the shape of the lens within your eye, and it creates a profile of your eye and how your eye focuses light. We then combine that data with the optician's subjective test of your vision to create something called an eye scription. And in theory, that should give you the very, very best vision possible. So you might be thinking, well, if we can measure the exact focus of your eye, why do we not just use that? Why do we still do the subjective eye test? It all comes back to what I mentioned earlier. We see with our brain. Vision is subjective, inherently subjective. We could give you a pair of glasses that had the exact correction, the exact focus of your eyes. No doubt about it. And many people who actually wore that prescription would say that they can't see things as clearly as they want to. We are creatures of habit, and we get used to seeing the world in a particular way. I can't see through your eyes, and you can't see through my eyes. And when we disturb the visual system, when we give you a new pair of glasses with a new prescription, even if it is the right prescription for you, you may still encounter issues when you first get your glasses. Your brain will actually form new neural pathways, new nerve linkages through the brain as it learns to work with the glasses. And that's why we typically say the adaptation period for new glasses is between 1 to 2 weeks. That is completely normal. If you collect your new glasses from the optician and they're not perfect straight away, please do persevere with them. It's really important that you do. So be prepared for that when you do order your next pair. Having said all that, there are reasons why often glasses do come out wrong. It's not just about the prescription. It's also about the way that your lenses are fitted to your frames and the measurements that are taken in that process. For example, we use the VisuFit 1000, and what that does is it takes a 3D scan of how your frames, your new frames, fit to your face, so that the lenses can actually be optimized for you. Let me explain. If you take a prescription lens and you move it forward or back, that will change the focus. If you tilt the frames like so, that will change the focus. And if you wrap the frames around, such as you see in sports sunglasses, that will also change the focus. Now, every pair of glasses on this table today will have a different measurement for all of those variables that I've just told you about. So if you don't account for those variables, you are going to get vision that is compromised to some degree. If you find a really good optician with really good equipment to take those measurements, no problem at all. The optician can compensate for those differences between each frame, and that's going to make your vision quite significantly better, actually. The last piece of the puzzle is the lens type. And so many people aren't aware that you can actually have the same prescription put into 2 lenses and see differently through each one. Lenses are technology, like everything else, like smartphones, like computers, and technology is constantly evolving. Think about how clear your phone screen is compared to a phone screen from 10 years ago. Why would you want lenses in your glasses that were designed 10 years ago? As technology improves, the vision that you get from more advanced lenses improves as well. And by getting the right lenses for you, measured and customized to your frame, using a really good prescription, that guarantees you get the best vision possible. And all three parts of the puzzle are equally important. Now, that was a pretty deep philosophical conversation, and I hope it all made sense. But if you do have any questions on the topic of vision specifically, definitely leave those in the comment section below. Now, you've chosen your new glasses. Your vision is great. You've settled into your new prescription. What about looking after your glasses long term? And what are the most common reasons why people have issues with their glasses in the long run? Well, let's cover a few of those aspects right now. Some frames are, of course, more durable than others. And one huge bit of advice that I give to everybody is to choose frames without a spring hinge. Now, spring hinges have become ubiquitous in the eyewear world due to the advent of designer frames. People choose frames not based on quality, but because of the name. And because they're not putting that much thought into choosing glasses, you'll find that almost all kind of designer brands will have a spring embedded into the hinge. And that spring is a weak point. It was designed and conceived so that even if you chose glasses that didn't really fit that well, the spring would absorb the tension. And for people who don't really look after their glasses, taking their frames off with one hand, for example, which we'll come back to, it does reduce wear on the actual frame material. Now, if you've got a cheap frame material, a spring hinge is really good, and that's why you do see it on particularly Luxottica frames, Marcolin frames, those designer brands that might be super popular but aren't actually really very well made at all. A high quality frame will almost never have a spring hinge, and that is because the material of the frame itself is durable enough to support the wear and tear that you're going to put on them. It also means that there's not a weak point to your frames that's going to eventually fail. Those spring hinges, whether it's now, 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, it will fail. No question, they do always break in the end. Now, there are a number of different hinges in the world of eyewear. And the hinge is arguably the most important component of your frames after the lenses, of course. So here are some really cool examples of more advanced hinges that you can get. For example, this McLaren pair with a 3D printed front features a magnetic hinge. This has 2 magnets embedded within the frame, which hold in place the actual hinge, which has this really cool, almost blade-like effect. That means that in theory, this hinge will never come loose. There's no screw in it. The magnet should never lose its tension. Really cool design. Similarly, we see screwless hinges from brands like Flair, and they make the world's best rimless glasses, arguably, but definitely. With this coiled screwless hinge, you don't have to worry about tightening it up. It won't lose its tension over time either. Or finally, you can choose one-piece frames like the industrial pair that I mentioned earlier, which are literally one piece and have no hinge to speak of at all. That is arguably the most maintenance-free design that you can get. Another really important tip for handling glasses is to always take them off with 2 hands. This is really important. When you take your glasses off with one hand, the pressure is applied here. And over time, that's either going to stretch your frames or break them. When the hinge fails on your glasses, please don't always blame your optician right away. If you've not been handling your glasses properly, it could actually be your fault. Sorry to be the one to break it to you, because I'm sure you're going to claim that you did nothing wrong, but that is why most glasses fail or break at the hinge point. Also, please don't put our glasses up here. Not only does it look a little bit old-fashioned, that's not good for them either. That's also going to stretch them and mean that over time they become looser on your face. But if you are one of those people, and honestly, I am one of them, that doesn't always handle our glasses correctly, a brand like Reykjavik Eyes is perfect, because these are made from one piece of titanium with a patented screwless hinge design. They're basically indestructible. I can bend them out as wide as I want and they'll just spring back to shape. So think about that when you're choosing your frames as well. Now, rimless glasses can also be very durable. A lot of people are put off rimless glasses if they are kind of heavy-handed because they worry about breaking them. And that is a good philosophy to have, because most rimless frames are more fragile. But if you choose a frame like this Flair example, this is not only the lightest frame in the world, but also one of the strongest. We have a special stitched nylon construction where the frames actually become very flexible at the drill points themselves. So even if you twist the frame, it doesn't come loose. What's more, because these are made from biosteel, with that screwless hinge design, again, extremely flexible and strong. So rimless glasses can be a good option even if you're not careful with your glasses. And I think that's a big misconception, that rimless glasses are always more flimsy or less durable. It's not the case. Just choose the right rimless frames and you're okay. I would say after the spring failing, the second most common issue that people have with their glasses is the lens coating crazing or delaminating. Now, this can happen spontaneously. It can be a fault within the lens, and most good lens manufacturers like Hoyer, Zeiss, Essilor, they will warranty their lenses for at least 1 year, usually 2 years, or even 3 years in Hoyer's case, from the date of purchase. However, even with the best lens coatings, if they're not treated correctly, you will get issues. The most common one is that June, July time every year, every optician will know this, you get a flurry of people coming in with the coating having delaminated. In the height of summer, if you leave your glasses in the car, when they're exposed to excess heat, what will happen is the lens will expand and the coating will expand, but because they're made from different materials, they expand at slightly different rates. What that means is that the coating starts to peel away or delaminate or craze, as we call it, from the lens itself. And what you'll get are these, what looks like almost micro scratches. They aren't scratches, it's that the actual coating spreading and breaking apart. That's usually still covered by warranty, but it's worth thinking about. Don't leave your glasses in really hot conditions. Don't expose them to quick changes in temperature where they're going to expand and contract quickly. And definitely don't leave them in the glove box or the dashboard of your car. The other thing that tends to cause lens coatings breaking down is chemical exposure. You really don't want to be putting your glasses in the dishwasher, and you don't want to be washing them with hand soap either. Use either warm water in the cloth or an approved lens wipe or lens spray. Definitely ask your optician which is the right one for your lenses. It's really important. We always recommend Zeiss lens wipes, and I personally think they are the best in the world, and we ship them all over the world. You can order them from our online store if you like. But I think that about wraps it up for all of the major issues that people experience with glasses. And I really hope if you're having a problem with your glasses that I've helped to solve it, or at least shed some light on why it's occurring. But if not, please do leave a comment below. If you have a problem with your glasses, let me know. I'd love to offer what advice I can in terms of finding a solution. And if you found this video helpful, please do give us a like. Subscribe to the channel for more eyewear content. We love bringing the best advice, I think, on the internet when it comes to glasses, and I'd love you to be along for the journey. I will look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.